Hey, everybody. So we, in the past 2 years, have been doing a lot of discussion about assessments and what grades should mean and all of these things. And so I wanted to give you guys an example of something I have done. I have taken an assessment from Spanish 3 and I have redesigned it totally to meet different standards and meet my um, meet my objectives and also meet my students' needs at the same time. So this is an example of something I did, and hopefully some of you can find something beneficial from it. It's called the Biography Project. It is going to be a biography of a famous Hispanic historical figure. Students can choose pretty much any Hispanic historical figure. That part won't take long, and we'll move right into the actual assessment portion. They're going to be producing a biography of his or her life, and it will have 3 parts. One is going to be a timeline. It's going to be an online timeline. Oral presentation, aka speech, and a written paper, which will be more formal in nature. So I have this document annotated just to give us an idea of why I did some things that I did. The standards that I'm meeting through this 3-part assessment, the biography design, the ACTFL World Readiness Standards, which are going to be standards that when we move to standards-based grading that I am working from primarily. The biography design is going to fall under cultural comparisons. And I know it says comparisons, but generally that standard just falls under familiarizing yourself with the different cultures and the people in them, which this project will meet. The actual timeline itself meets an ISTE teacher standard, which is designed to develop digital age learning experiences and assessments. A lot of whereas we're doing standards-based grading and we're doing one-to-one implementation as well, that standard has been a large part of my redesigning my instruction as well, and I think it will be as we move forward. The oral presentation is going to meet the presentational communication, which is a world readiness standard as well, and the written paper is also presentational communication, obviously written rather than spoken. So I'm going to break this down a little bit. The timeline portion of this project is designed to help you identify preterite versus imperfect. This is the 2 past tenses in Spanish. That's the unit that I'm assessing through this. And it's going to serve as a visual aid during their oral presentation. I decided to give them 3 options for different online tools. The reason I did this and the standards that I meet through allowing them to do this are, as it says here, Empowered Learner, which is an ISTE student standard, and an Innovative Designer. So once again, implementing that technology that we've been trying to do. The first is Time Glider, and the students can choose any of these 3. Time Glider, myhistro.com and tikitoki.com. I have listed some different pros and cons, mostly pros of these, because I chose them because I believe they have a lot of pros. My choice, as it says here, is the myhistro, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have to do it. I will leave that up to them. I really like giving them choice because sometimes they really take more ownership of it if it's something that they have chosen to do. So hopefully that is what happens with this. Their timeline has to have at least 10 significant events for the person's life, 1 picture and 1 Spanish sentence. It's going to essentially be, could be a slideshow type format, could be just a timeline that they have us follow as an audience, but that's going to be their visual aid for their presentation. They're going to have to meet with me on an individual basis to break down why their sentences are using the preterite versus the imperfect. Once again, this is all the grammar part of Spanish, so I won't get too much into that. But the point is, as it says under my objectives down here, by requiring that they meet with me, they have to explain why they chose the preterite versus the imperfect. And this sometimes helps them think through, oh, well, maybe that wasn't the right reasoning, or that was the right reasoning. And then they get that feedback from me. And I think the one-on-one attention is important for this, especially as we get to more in-depth content. It really helps me formatively to see kind of where each student is at. So that I really like that portion of this redesign. The timeline itself, obviously the technology integration is a large part of it, but it also provides a physical breakdown of events, which is, I won't explain it too much, but it is part of the grammar. The way we break it down sometimes is we draw little pictures to help us visualize why we use one past tense here and another here. So that will help them hopefully use that visualization to make the right grammatical choice, if you will. And then, of course, it's also a visual aid. The oral presentation in Spanish 3 is going to be just part of Spanish 3. You're going to have to speak in Spanish, and they know that coming in. This is going to be, as it says down here, the second of 4 formal speeches at this point in my Spanish 3 curriculum. It's 3 minutes long, and I do allow them to use note cards because they can use note cards in classes where they're speaking their first language. So they appreciate that, but we learn to kind of wean ourselves off of those towards the end of the year. I do allow a little bit of extra credit here. This will look different as we move to total standards-based grading, but since we're still in points-based system, they can get a few points for dressing up like their character, if you will, or the person they're researching, and that's always fun. Kids love extra credit, and it just makes it a little bit more fun for everybody. And then, of course, we have the written paper. This is where, so going down here to objectives met. This is meeting the written standard. It can come, that standard can come in many forms, and it does in Spanish 3, but this is going to be like a more formal research paper, which we don't do a ton of. And it also helps with the actual grammar portion of the preterite versus imperfect. This is where I will primarily be getting the grammar grade from. So that will be very important in meeting my objectives as well. So I have actually I have 3 separate rubrics for each portion. So I have the written paper, the oral presentation, and the timeline. They are mostly broken down into 4, 3, 2, 1. I hope to have my rubrics developed into that as we move into standards-based grading, assuming we're going to use that 4-point system. We do have a few 5s on the timeline. Most of these are just following directions, so I could adjust that as time goes on and we move more into 4, 3, 2, 1. But I just wanted you guys to see kind of an example of what it looks like to take an assessment and really redesign it, but to say, why am I doing what I am doing? What is the point of this portion of the assessment versus this portion? Am I meeting my students' needs and also meeting my objectives as well? So I hope this is a good example for you guys to use. I have a lot more information on it if you want. But otherwise, I just wanted to give this as a potential assessment redesign, and I think this process can be used to go through each assessment and break it down by standards and objectives. I really liked it, and it really helped me to think through what it is that I'm doing and why, which is kind of the assessment conversation that we've been having. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, that's all I have. Thanks, guys.